Hello, everybody. It is Catherine. Hello. Bringing you this week's weekly energy check-in for the week of July 28th, 2019. It is a very exciting time, massive light downloads hitting the planet, and we're already starting to feel it. We have the Lionsgate portal that is opening, has already opened actually. It opened on the 26th. And hi, Angela. It will continue through about the 12th or the 13th of August, peaking on August 8th, 8/8. It is known as the 8/8 Lionsgate portal. I'm going to talk about that, but there's just a lot going on that we need to kind of digest at this time. And I hope to, in this video, bring you some insight as to what's going on and how to kind of prepare yourself to get yourself ready to know that things are happening or in alignment with all of the converging celestial events that are happening at the time, and that even though it doesn't feel normal, it's normal to have these kind of responses down here in our physical realm of 3D reality. So if you don't know what the Lionsgate portal is, it's the planetary alignment with Sirius and the galactic center. So with this massive basically downloading of light information. So light codes, beams of light, rays of light, different energy spectrums of light that are hitting this planet that are of a very high vibration. We're gonna feel it. Many of us who are already, very sensitive, very empathic, we're feeling this energy right now. I was just watching your last night's live. Ooh, you can watch me back to back. I love it. You can binge on Catherine today. How fantastic. I talked yesterday about, and Angela, my friend here, was just referring to the video I recorded yesterday that talks in a lot more detail about what is happening with this Lionsgate portal, and particularly what's happening with this massive planetary karmic cleansing that's happening. We have collective karmic clearing that's going on right now. On top of our own individual causal body or karmic body clearing, we're clearing a lot of old karmic patterns that have kept us in a place of self-limitation, self-negation, sometimes for not only this lifetime, but many lifetimes. But on top of that, this portal is really unique because it's bringing in a lot of collective karmic clearing. So we're talking on a planetary level of clearing systems of karma that have affected anything that has a sweeping effect on humanity. So politics, religion, and anywhere there has been a concentration of power amongst the few rather than to the many, this paradigm is shifting quite a bit. And so it's going to cause a lot of false information coming in, because as we accept these higher light codes, as we are literally accepting these higher light codes in a way that our body is assimilating them, our body is accommodating them and taking them in, we are becoming lighter in our cellular body, in our cellular structures. We are becoming less dense. We are moving up in vibration. We are accessing higher levels of frequency. As we do that, we are no longer energetically available or an energetic match for the lower paradigms and lower systems of belief, the lower power systems and power structures. So there's a fight, let's just say, against that. So I don't want to be so reductive that I'm talking about it in a way that it's the powers of evil versus good, because it's not that way. And we have to get away from the duality, but we're going to feel it as a very, very stark contrast. And so the duality is going to come in even more. And as we are accessing these higher light codes and we're literally elevating in our consciousness, the lower vibrations are going to be much more visible to us. We're going to be able to have, because we are activating so much from our heart center, and especially our higher heart center, I like to call it the tortoise heart, we are going to be able to view and have more discernment of these lower vibrations as they move out, as their timelines that hold these lower frequency ways of being, paradigm structures, power structures. We're going to become that much more aware and discerning of them so that these timelines can finally collapse and we can be done with them. And as this happens, there's this kind of fight these energies, these lower frequencies, if they don't have anything to attach to, meaning your low frequency energy, because you're just not available for that energy anymore, there's this kind of last gasp before these timelines collapse. And the way we experience it down in here 3D reality is that the outrage becomes that much more in high contrast. The outrage that people feel, like the need to want to fight or be in battle mode or be in warrior mode, that's going to escalate. The he said, she said, arguments in politics, in religion, there's just going to be this kind of butting of heads that's going to seem even more contrasted, even more like vicious, let's just say. And it's going to be ugly. And that's just the way it looks before paradigms and timelines collapse. So it's important for us really at this time to keep moving our energy back to the heart, keep moving back to the heart, because you're going to find that if you're not in the energy of the heart, you're going to be less discerning, and you're going to get swept up in this chaos as it has its last gasp here on the planet. And the way to avoid that is to be in your power. And the way to be in your power is to be in your light, to keep moving back to the heart, to keep recognizing all of the things in your life that are good, all of the things that are working out, all of the things that, while this vicious fight is going on between this last gasp of these lower frequency timelines, it's easy to get swept up in that, but you can easily move your attention and your focus and your awareness to, hey, I love my kids. Hey, I really love where I am in my life. I feel stronger, more powerful, and more of a sovereign being than I've ever felt in my life before. God, look at the flowers. Look at how beautiful it is to be out in nature, to be in summer and feel the sun on my face. It's really important, and I'm not advising that you be Pollyanna about these things that are happening. It's important to have your finger on the pulse and know what's going on in the world, but you don't have to get swept up or languish in or marinate in these energies as they move out, because it's going to get really easy to get swept up in the fear and the paranoia. This is going to be something that, as these timelines of lower frequency paradigm structures, power structures collapse, there's going to be a ton of fear and paranoia in the collective. You do not have to take that on. You can witness it, but here's the thing, and here's the difference. When we are always going back to our heart energy, our higher heart energy, and remembering our infinite self, and not connecting with our infinite self, because you're always connected to that part, but kind of casting aside anywhere you're putting any attention or focus on your lower self, constantly moving into the awareness, the being of your higher self, it's much easier for you to not get swept up in this fear and paranoia that's going to be gripping the planet in a really big way. And the massive downloads that are going to be happening, these massive downloads of light that are going to be hitting the planet, that we're already feeling, that are going to even escalate more through this portal up until about the 12th of August. They are going to be so big and powerful, like I said, that if you're in your light, if you're anchoring in your light, you're anchoring in your higher heart, you're anchoring into the infinite aspect of who you are. From that level, that higher scope perspective, you're going to be able to operate with a much greater level of discernment, so that you're able to see like the shenanigans that are going on and saying, yeah, I'm not going to get swept up in that. This needs to go. If I give it attention and focus, and if I want to fight the battle while it's happening, guess what you're doing? You are keeping that timeline alive because you're engaging at that level of frequency. If you are in your higher heart frequency, you're not even emotionally, energetically, vibrationally available for that argument, for that fight, for that battle. So when you are anchoring in more of your light, you are ensuring the collapse of that timeline. And guess what? When we are in this higher heart vibration, while everyone else is downloading these massive light downloads on a planet too, you get to be a beacon of inspiration by staying in your light. And you will have that because there's so much higher heart energy that is activated during this time of accessing massive downloads. Everyone's feeling it on the planet. Whether they choose to put their attention and focus on that higher heart energy or not is another story. But the more you do it, and that's all you have to worry about is the thing. Yes, there's going to be a collective fear and paranoia on the planet as we dissolve these paradigms and as these massive light downloads come in and literally absorb the dark. All you have to worry about is staying in your own lane. Don't worry about everybody else. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, because we're going to be tempted. We're going to be very seduced by these, let's just say, lower vibration, darker energies at play, trying so hard to get our attention, because these timelines can't survive without our attention. They can't. So if you're not giving them any attention, any focus, they will naturally dissolve. So all you have to worry about is not everyone else paying attention to these timelines. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Stay in your own lane. Anchor your own light. The more you do that, the higher heart energy, that frequency, is very contagious. That's just as seductive, and we forget that sometimes. That yes, the darker energy can be very seductive for people who are already in the energy of the fight, who are already wanting to battle, who are already, maybe wanting some justice here on this planet, but it's misplaced because they're fighting at that level of unconsciousness that keeps those timelines alive. But if you're constantly moving your energy back to the heart, you're very conscious, you're very aware, you're very in your present, okay? You will not get swept up by that seductive energy. You'll get swept up in the seductive energy of the higher heart, and you'll be able to stay there. And because of all of the higher heart energy on the planet, it'll be very easy for you to be a beacon, to vibrate that energy out a mile around you in all directions, so that everyone can feel that instead of all the lower energy moving out. The false information is going to come in like gangbusters. Don't get swept up in it. This is why we have a greater need for discernment, and that's why you constantly need to redirect, or I invite you to redirect your energy back to the heart. Just keep going back to the heart. Keep going back to the heart. When you feel that collective fear, that paranoia, and you're going to feel it physically, you're going to feel heart palpitations, you're going to have a hard time sleeping. You're going to feel anxiety in the body. You're going to feel yourself warming up. This is not just a reaction in the physical body that lets you know that you're accessing higher downloads, but it's also that you're kind of feeling the contrast of having these massive light downloads come in while simultaneously seeing, feeling, and knowing all of this fear and paranoia coming in as these timelines collapse. But if you're constantly moving back to the heart, you'll have that higher level of discernment to say, all right, this is where I want to be. I see all that happening. I can be the great witness, the objective observer. When you're in your higher scope perspective, you're in that place of being in communion with that higher field of intelligence within you. You will have that discernment to see, I see that happening over there. That is lesser than where I am. I don't need to get swept up in that. I can witness it. I can send it love. In fact, do. Where you see this injustice, where you see the outrage, where you see the fight, where you see the battle, go into your heart and send it love. People don't think that this really affects things on the planet. It massively affects things on the planet. So keep doing that. Keep doing that. You really want to fight the good fight? That's how you do it. You don't engage at the same level of unconsciousness that everyone else is at. You go into a higher elevated consciousness and anchor in your light and send light out like a beacon, like a huge push, like a wave, like a tsunami of higher heart energy. That helps. We often think that it doesn't do very much. It does so much. It does more than you could possibly know. And the more people that are doing this on the planet simultaneously, the more of an effect that we have on closing out those paradigms that are not serving humanity anymore, that have kept humanity in collective darkness for centuries, thousands of years even, and we ensure that we are collectively helping humanity ascend to a higher level of consciousness, okay? Constantly go back to the heart. So what I wanted to say about that is you will know when you're not in your heart and when you're not in this place where you're aware of being swept up in the contrast, the fear and the paranoia. We're going to have like an uptick in heart palpitations, that anxiety, that feeling in the body of warming up. There's going to be a lot of confusion. There's going to be moments where you are feeling overwhelmed by these energies. All the more reason, keep going back to the heart. Keep going back to the heart. Make it like a mantra. Put a rubber band on your wrist and snap yourself into submission every time you feel like you're being swept up by the seduction of these timelines that are closing out, that are lesser than the frequency we want to access. Remind yourself constantly, Move into conscious awareness. Many times throughout your day, put reminders on your phone. Go into the light. Be in the heart. Do whatever you have to do. But it's really going to help you out during this time. This collective karmic clearing that's happening, like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, it has a lot to do with the social structures, the power structures that have kept humanity in darkness for some things, thousands of years, especially around religion. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming up in the media around religion and politics for us to be outraged about, for us to say, I can't believe that, or this is ridiculous. How could this be happening? Again, this is an invitation for you to go into the light. You can go into the pain. You can go into the injustice of it. And in our ego mind, in our ego scope of perception, we think that we are going into a place where we're fighting the good fight, but no, you're engaging in that same level of unconsciousness. It's about anchoring your light. It's about anchoring in an energy that is greater than that, okay? This will really help you at this time. The massive downloads that are going to be coming into your awareness. So when you are sleeping, my sleep gets very interrupted at this time, but here's the thing about massive light hitting the planet. We often feel like we don't need to sleep as much, and we often feel like we don't need to eat as much, or we don't need to eat heavier foods, and in fact that makes us feel a lot more sluggish. And the reason why is because these light codes are feeding our cellular structures so that they can become less dense, less heavy. And so our body has different needs at this time. It oftentimes doesn't need as much sleep. I will find that as we have these converging celestial events and we have major, massive downloads hitting the planet, usually I need about 9 hours a night to sleep. I love to sleep. I love sleep. But I can go 6 hours and I'll feel fine. That's just what happens. Or I'll wake up, I'll go to bed like at midnight or 1 a.m. That's my usual time to go to bed, and then I'll just wake up at 4 a.m. and I'll receive massive downloads, and then I'm up for an hour writing them down. I stopped resisting that process, and then I found that if I just gave into it and surrendered to the process of receiving these downloads, writing them down, documenting them, because I always get the nudge that this needs to be recorded. So I stopped fighting it. And once I did that, I found that I would go back to sleep, and I would get a deeper sleep when I finally was able to go back to sleep, so that I could have 6 hours of sleep and feel fine. Okay, so maybe some of you might want to explore that for yourselves as well. I find that when there's a lot of huge light downloads hitting the planet, like we're on the verge of right now, we're on the cusp of it, and it's going to continue through the 12th, this might be a great time for you to do some fasting. This might be a great time to move to a juice diet or start eating more raw, live foods. Less heavy foods like meats or pastas, lots of carbs. And I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a doctor, I'm not advising that you change your diet, but this is a time for you to listen to your body and pay attention to what it needs. And if you are someone like I am who does receive massive downloads during these converging celestial events that happen, maybe you'll benefit like I do from eating lighter foods or eating smaller meals throughout the day. I'll eat 4 times a day, but they'll be really small meals. And I do a lot of smoothies and juice drinks during this time, and I feel better. I feel like there's less brain fog. My body doesn't feel as sluggish. It also makes me want to be more active. So I'm out more, I'm connecting with nature more. That's another great invitation for us at this time to be really connected to the earth. Do some hiking, be outside, get the sun on your face. I'm not advising you to look at the sun, but there's something that's really interesting that happens during these times of massive light downloads, that when we're out in the sun and we don't have our glasses on, our sunglasses on, don't look directly at the sun, but just you absorb the rays of the sun, because the solar energy is so powerful and potent and intense in a wonderful way for us at this time. The sun coming in through the eyes, through your peepers, okay, helps your cellular structures to become lighter, and it's like giving them food through the sunlight. Again, don't look directly at the sun, but just even for 5 minutes, take your sunglasses off and just be out in the sun without your sunglasses on. I don't know why this is, but I've received messages on this numerous times that this really helps us to assimilate these light codes in a lot better way. because we're not blocking them with the sunglasses. What else did I want to say about that? Oh yeah, the best is for last. Because the contrast right now is going to be so stark between the collective karmic clearing that's happening, the massive shedding of layers on this planet of power structures that have kept humanity in darkness, especially around politics, especially around religion, and contrasted against these massive light downloads that are very, very high frequency, very high vibration. The contrast, the duality is going to be seen very strongly. Again, go back to the heart. You'll be able to discern and come from a place of judging these things from a place from the higher heart self, and then knowing how to respond appropriately. This is going to be huge for us at this time. So go back to the heart, go back to the heart, go back to the heart all the time, all day long. Keep redirecting your attention and energy back to the heart and just expanding that out. It's going to make a huge difference for you. But this is also going to bring in discernment of where you are running from something that you're not healing, where you are running from your trauma, where you're trying to sweep aside your pain, your shock, your trauma, even if this is vicarious trauma, something that you're holding that maybe you don't have any personal trauma or deep personal wounding. But those of us who are very sensitive, very empathic, we take on the vicarious trauma of the planet. And as we're shedding these karmic layers as a whole, as a collective, those of you who are taking on or have taken on vicarious trauma, you're going to feel it in a much more intense way. So wherever you've seen injustices to, people who are helpless, people who can't help themselves, it could be women, it could be children, it could be animals. Doesn't matter who or what it is, but you are taking that on. Be aware of that. And if you're not clearing it, if you're not finding a way for yourself to, in a healthy way, clear that and make peace with that, this vicarious trauma gets held in your cellular structures. They get held in your organs. It gets held in your blood. And it is a self-limiting way of being in the body. You don't have to do this. You need to clear it. But those of you who are holding trauma, those of you who are holding wounding, if you're still stuck in some sort of shock or terror from something that's happened in your life, some event that you haven't cleared the emotional imprint of, you're going to need to stop running from it, because it's going to show up with this contrast, this duality that is going to be so powerfully felt and seen and known over the next 3 weeks. Your personal trauma is right up there with that. Stop running from it. Whatever you're refusing to acknowledge, whatever you're pretending to not know about yourself, whatever you are emotionally clinging to as your pain and your trauma because it's become your identity, and you say, this is me, and I'm afraid that if I lose this trauma, I don't know who I will be. It's time for you to stop running from that. It's time for you to stop being in self-denial from that, because this is going to be a more painful time for you, okay? If you need help with that, reach out. This is what I help people do. The worry vessel, I'm the delivery system. So let these things kind of wash over you. You may want to watch this video again and really sit with the energy of this and see where you are holding onto trauma, vicarious or personal, and where it can be cleared. What can you do to finally release this? This is a great time to do some EFT tapping. This is a great time to do some shadow work. This is a great time to do some forgiveness work. And not just forgiveness for yourself. Forgiveness for what's happened on the planet. Forgiveness for the political structures of power and religious power that we've had in place that have been diminishing and discounting the level of our humanity for thousands of years. Go ahead and forgive it. Just forgive it. Again, it's about going back to the heart, entering into the higher energy of the heart. Anything that resonates with mercy, compassion, understanding, forgiveness will resonate at that higher heart frequency. That's how you keep going back to the heart as well. So I hope this information sits well with you this week. I want to wish you all just fortitude and strength. I want to wish you all so much love and peace. I have so much compassion and understanding for those of you who are really on this journey of self-awakening and are finding this difficult at this time. It's more intense with these downloads. I hear you, I see you, I feel you, I know you, and I love you. So thank you. Love and peace. Bye-bye.